Update, brought to you by Simcox Advocates, advising businesses and families since 1949. Visit simcox.com or call 690 300. Manx Radio's Update with Andy Wint.
Fast am I. Good evening. It's 5:30. This is Update for Monday, 30th of October 2023 from Manx Radio. 30 minutes to look at the latest news on the Isle of Man. Background to that, news and sport and business, Sea Watch, and travel updates, and the newsmakers in person. This evening, parole refused for double murder in Newbery. Income tax receipts below forecast. That awful smelling seaweed on Douglas Promenade. The Remembrance pop has been redesigned. Ravens make it 4 wins from 6 at the weekend. The Manxman is going to sail tonight, and there is fog on the mountain road.
Man Benham for all your business and legal needs.
But first of all, at 29 minutes ahead of 6 o'clock, the Update news headlines. Fastamai Lewis Foster.
Fastamai. Government employees are getting a 6% pay rise. Following negotiations with unions, the Public Services Commission will implement the pay award for all grades of staff for April 2023 to 2024. Police have confirmed 3 men were arrested on suspicion of drug-related offences following an incident at the Slough last week. The road in the south of the island was closed for most of the day on Thursday while officers carried out an open-air search. They found a large amount of Class A and B drugs in the area. The trio have been bailed pending further inquiries. And a third man's been found guilty of robbing Manx cyclist Mark Cavendish and his wife at knife point at their home in Essex. 27-year-old Joe Jobson was part of a gang who threatened the couple whilst wearing balaclavas and stole watches worth £700,000 in November 2021. 2 other men were jailed in February for their part in the robbery. In the international news, Israel says its ground operation in Gaza has freed a female soldier held captive by Hamas since the attacks on October 7th. But the country's Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu has condemned the release of a video showing 3 other Israeli hostages as cruel psychological propaganda. The former aide to Boris Johnson, who was nicknamed Party Marty after encouraging Downing Street staff to attend a Bring Your Own Booze event during lockdown, has apologised. Martin Reynolds has also told a COVID inquiry he set a WhatsApp group involving the ex-UK Prime Minister to automatically delete messages. And the former Spanish FA chief who kissed a footballer after the Women's World Cup final has been banned from the sport for 3 years. Luis Rubiales was forced to resign last month. Those are the Update news headlines. I'll be back with the news at 6 o'clock.
Man Benham. Contact us by phone, video call, email or face-to-face. We're happy to connect with you. Manx Radio Weather with Manx Glass and Glazing.
Goramaya, thank you, Lewis, from the Ronald Way Met Office. There is a strong wind warning in operation currently. State of sea moderate, and the weather tonight cloudy and showery. Intermittent rain through the night and down to 10 degrees on a fresh to strong easterly. For Tuesday, Jamert, a wet start will dry up and become less windy as the day goes on, up to 12 degrees. More rain and strong winds after dark tomorrow, overnight minimum 9 into Jacrane. Wednesday, some rain first thing, clearing to scattered showers with bright intervals in a fresh to strong southeasterly veering southwesterly. Top temperature 14 on Wednesday. Tides on the way out, low water at 22 minutes past 6, high water 21 minutes after midnight. There is a yellow warning for coastal overtopping on the promenades on the east of the island. Low water 9 minutes before 7 tomorrow. The sun rises at 16 minutes past 7.
Manx Glass and Glazing are able to offer an emergency out-of-hours boarding up service. Call 491918.
Double murderer Peter Newbery will remain behind bars after his application for parole was turned down. The family of one of his victims, George Green, have described him as an animal. He killed the 16-year-old and his friend Samantha Barton in 2002. George's mother Margaret and sister Jackie Christian say victims should be given more of a voice at parole hearings.
In the UK, you are assigned a proper victim liaison officer who, talks you through what's going to happen.
They give you guidance. Some have no guidance. guidance.
We had nothing.
No.
Would you have a message for government then in this case? Because as we said, this isn't going to go away. Is it that you want that support? You need that support?
I think we do, really. We were told he'd be locked up for a very long time, maybe
Indefinitely we were
indefinitely.
told.
We were told at the trial. We would find out everything, what happened. We don't know any more than what we did back in 20 years ago, because he won't talk.
We can put it to one side, for now, but we know, as you say, it will happen again. Leading up to the parole, sleepless nights, nightmares, it brings it all back. It does. So hopefully now we've got this outcome, we can kind of put it to one side, but we do want things changed. We feel as a family that the law should be changed. Victims' families should be able to go into the parole hearing and read their family impact statements. That's what we think. And also, he was brought back from Franklin Prison, the UK prison, for Category A murderers to the Isle of Man 3 years ago, and that was probably more so because they knew that he was going to apply for parole around this time. If he hasn't changed in those 3 years or showed any kind of remorse, why keep him on the island? Why not send him back to a high security prison? Our island prison isn't high security, so why should he be in it?
More than £10 million has been collected in income tax from retail businesses on the Isle of Man over the last 5 years. So says Treasury Minister Dr Allinson MHK, who says it's been generated from companies with annual taxable profits of £500,000 or more. But South Douglas MHK Claire Christian questioned why the figures for the last 5 years were well below previous forecasts of £3.5 million per year.
Trying to forecast revenues in terms of retail businesses and their profits is often difficult, and I think you can see by the figures I read out the significant reduction in terms of 2019 and 2020, which were due to the economic factors on our island. One of the significant issues has been the number of businesses, the number of retailers who classify under this annual taxable profits threshold. And in 2018 this was 10, 2019 it was 11, 2020 it was 12, 2021 it was 13, and 2022 it was 15. So we have seen an increase in the number of businesses, which I think is reassuring in terms of our economy and the investment in the economy by large retailers. However, their profits have been affected by economic measures in particular, and that's why then the necessary tax take from them does vary quite significantly.
Could the Treasury Minister kindly elucidate the procedures and measures conducted by Treasury to verify the accuracy of the profits reported by Isle of Man retailers?
In terms of the investigations that are done by the tax department, these are significant and substantial, and as she points out, with the adoption of the Pillar 2 minimum global taxation threshold of 15%, that will entail looking at those large multinational retailers that have a base on the island and making absolutely certain that the profits obtained from this island are taxed for this island.
The Isle of Man in 30 minutes. Update on Manx Radio with Andy Wint.
Pastor Mai, 21 minutes before 6. FC Isle of Man made it 4 wins from their last 6 at the weekend as a Sean Doyle double secured the Ravens an impressive 2-1 away victory at high-flying Wythenshawe. Here's FC Isle of Man manager Paul Jones on why he thinks the side are good value for the win and what's contributed to their recent boost in form.
Very, very happy with the performance. We said to the players before the game, we'll leave the 3 points here and be happy if we have a really, really good performance. We had a very clear plan about how we wanted to play against them because we knew it would cause them trouble, and the players were just asked to commit to that plan and deliver that. And if we did, we knew we'd get a strong performance and it would give us a good chance of getting something out of the game. And, they were excellent. Every single man in the squad who came onto the pitch, we've changed shape a couple of times to deal with what they're doing, and they've just delivered a great performance. And I'm so happy for them to have the 3 points in the bag. When you play a team so close to the first fixture, They can tend to think that they know you. And so we changed and made quite a significant change, really, just in terms of how we set up to make sure we were higher up the pitch and created more chances. And we certainly did that first half. And, we had a shaky 10 minutes or so at the beginning of the game while the players got used to the pitches they were seeing when they were standing in different areas of the pitch. And once they got used to that, I thought we dominated the first half and could have scored 3 or 4 goals, but for their goalkeeper making some fantastic saves. So, the last 15-20 minutes or so, we went back to the same formation as we played at the Bowl because they made some tactical changes, and it was a bit more of a backs to the wall sort of performance for the last 20 minutes. But we knew that we'd done that for 90 minutes at home, so we knew we could see that out, and we did with some really good defensive displays and still had a bit of a threat going forwards as well. So no, we were, as I said to you last time we spoke, we really wanted us to be on the front foot and positive, and we were, and it was a very kind of different performance which we needed to do, I think, because they were planning for us to play a certain way and we didn't. So really happy.
For the first time in 28 years, the historic Remembrance Day poppy has been redesigned. The Royal British Legion announced the change last week after more than 3 years of development. The story from Siobhan Fletcher.
The new poppies are now plastic-free and recyclable in a move to become more environmentally friendly. The symbol of remembrance has been redesigned by the James Cropper factory near Kendal, with the plastic stem and core replaced by paper. But a spokesperson for the Royal British Legion has confirmed that here on the Isle of Man, there are a mix of poppies in circulation. They told Manx Radio that mostly plastic poppies have been sent to the island from the Royal British Legion factory in Aylesbury to use up stock. Some branches who left it until early October to order poppy merchandise have received some new plastic-free poppies. Poppy boxes have now been distributed across the island for those wanting to mark their respects this Remembrance Day.
Sea Watch with the Isle of Man Steam Packet Company.
The motor vessel Manxman departed Heysham at 2:20. She's in the bay now, leaving this evening at 7:45, arriving in Heysham at about 11:30. The overnight departure 2:15, back to Douglas at 6 tomorrow morning. Tomorrow morning's 8:45 Manxman to Heysham's been rescheduled and will now depart at 8:15. 8:15, you're asked to check in no later than 7:45.
Like the Steam Packet on Facebook for the latest sailing information.
MHK Jason Morehouse is calling for a new assessment of a site earmarked for an onshore wind farm on the Isle of Man. He wants to find out if Eristane and the Scard site is on heathland.
The heathland question, that seems to be the key factor going forward. I asked several questions linked to the wind farm and related issues over the summer, and a couple of answers gave the same thing, that if it's heathland, there won't be development. There's been one Dev report that suggests it isn't heathland because of the way you've got the plantation in a heathland area, and another report when the Kringle Reservoir was done that suggests it is. And given Mr. Crookall's really clear statements in recent days, I do feel it's kind of a priority that we actually get that tested, because he's clearly said if this is heathland, we cannot take this forward. And it looks really quite worrying if we're at the point of ordering these turbines, if we're at the point of starting the environmental impact assessment, if we're doing all these big spends, and the one thing that's going to actually stop this at the end of the day is it heathland? That needs to be looked at and determined. If we can do that as a priority, we then can go forward and decide what happens next. But I'm really hoping that this can be seen as the chance to lay to rest a lot of fears. I think there's genuine concern right across the island just in terms of the scale of this project. We're looking at something that's kind of breakthrough technology in terms of size, in terms of location, in terms of many other things, and the MUA are really being proactive with this one. And I feel that we need to actually look at the basics, and in terms of the area, this is a basic in terms of is it heathland, and from what is said and what it looks like when you go up there, it does appear to be the case. So let's get that clarified, and then we've got much more certainty about what comes next. But when we're starting to spend money like this, we really need to make sure that we're not going to stop in 12 months, 18 months.
Manx Radio Business Briefing.
At 16 minutes before 6, Essentials said today it's agreed to sell its digital commerce business and its product design business, WGS WGSN for a combined £1.4 billion. The British digital business-to-business media company specialising in exhibitions and festivals and information services will be sold to Omnicom for about $741 million, while WGSN will be sold to Apax Partners for up to $700 million. Once the deal's complete, Essential, which was formerly known as EMAP, expects to return about £850 million to shareholders, most likely by way of a special dividend, although the quantum, timing and form of the return of value will remain at the discretion of the board. And for a full daily market report, go to ramseycrookall.com. The UK government's granted 27 oil and gas licences for projects in the North Sea. The licences have been issued for projects in central and northern areas of the North Sea and west of Shetland to allow oil and gas resources to be explored and developed. UK Energy Secretary said the move was a welcome economic boost. Climate campaigners say they intend to challenge the decision in court. The 33rd oil and gas licensing round was launched in October 2022 with 931 blocks and part blocks made available for application. In addition to the 27 licences, 6 more blocks which were already to be offered have been merged into the 5 existing licences. In total, the North Sea Transition Authority received 115 applications from 76 companies for 258 blocks or part blocks when the application window closed on the 12th of January this year. This is the highest participation since the introduction of the Innovate licences in the 29th round in 2016-17. In recent years, the average time from licence award to production has been about 5 years.
The Stock Market Report, brought to you by Ramsey Crookall.
UK and European stock markets closed higher despite ongoing volatility in the Middle East. The US dollar fell, oil dipped even after Israel sent ground forces into the Gaza Strip, raising tensions in the Middle East, and gold prices traded around the key $2,000 level. And the figures now from Ramsey Crookall at the close in London. The FTSE 100 was up 0.5% at 7,327. The DAX in Frankfurt up just over 0.1% at 14,703. A short time ago in New York City, the Dow Jones Industrial up just over a percentage point at 32,760. The Nasdaq Tech Stocks Index up 0.75% at 12,738. The S&P 500 in Chicago up 0.7% at 4,146. In the exchange markets, the British pound sterling is trading at $1 21.4 cents, €1 14.4 cents, and 22 South African rand 90.8 cents. In commodities, gold down fractionally 0.33% at $1,999 per troy ounce, and a barrel of Brent crude down 2.5% at $86.53.
You've got an investment plan?
Yeah, Mike set it up.
But don't you need loads of money to do that?
Not this one. It's called Shearwater from Ramsey Crookall, and you pay in monthly as little as £100. So it's like saving regularly, really helping us invest in the future. For a house, well, the kids' education.
£100 a month? I could easily do that.
You should. The sooner you start, the better.
Invest in your future with as little as £100 a month. Shearwater from Ramsey Crookall, the island's investment specialist for 75 years. Call 717171 or visit ramseycrookall.com. Licensed and regulated by the Isle of Man Financial Services Authority.
If you've driven along Douglas Promenade or perhaps walked along the promenade, residents have been complaining, and perhaps you, about the smell of seaweed coming from the beach. We put Manx Radio microphone in front of these.
I've noticed this afternoon when we went for our daily walk, the smell was quite bad, and there was a lot of birds as well. So I suppose they're after the smell. There might be something in the weeds or for them to enjoy.
And have you noticed the smell as well?
Yes, especially right up to the northern side of it is very bad there. Yeah.
And have you seen like more birds on your daily walks as well?
A lot more.
I think that might be why. The birds doesn't bother me. The smell is bad. The birds are nice, but they are more today. I think it's because of the smell.
I think that if you live by the seaside, from time to time this kind of thing is going to happen, and then the council will come and deal with it, and it will go away again, and you'll have forgotten about it in a couple of months.
We were out walking along the promenade over by Summerland, towards Summerland, and oh gosh, the stench nearly knocked us out, especially my friend. She says, did you smell it? It smells weird. It doesn't smell like seaweed at all. It smells stronger than that. And, totally threw us. It was middle of the morning, say about 11:30, 11:45, something like that. I assumed it could have been because of the bad storms we've had recently, but I do think it needs checking.
Update brought to you by Simcox Advocates, advising businesses and families since 1949. Visit simcox.com or call 690 300. Manx Radio Sport.
Fastamai, Rhiann Evans.
Fastamai, a very good evening to you. There's not long to go now before the Isle of Man makes its debut in the powerlifting home nations. 12 competitors are heading to Belfast on the 4th of November for the competition. Making up the women's team are Freya Weldon, Lucy Norbury, Jo Corr, Kate Divers, Kerry Kelly and Jackie Wade. And representing the men's side are Harry Lee, Harry Morgan, Eamon McKiernan, Morgan Howard-Brown, Lewis Runge and Cale de Los Reyes. While there, they'll go head-to-head with England, Northern Ireland, Scotland and Wales. In athletics, round 1 of the Winter Walk League got underway this weekend, and there's been a major format change this season for the league, with the series reduced to just 3 rounds and the 10k distance dropped. Erica Kelly produced a superb performance. Her time of 23 minutes 11 was a huge personal best, placing her 10th on the all-time Great Britain rankings for the women's 5k road walk. Chris Addy continued his recent impressive showings in walking events, with second place in a time of 28 minutes 26, and Sean Hans came in third in 28 minutes 35. And more than £500 has been raised by local sports teams for Manx Breast Cancer Support Group. Isle of Man Ladies Basketball held a big pink game at the weekend, encouraging women to give the sport a try whilst also raising money for a good cause. The ladies team, also known as Hoops, trains every Sunday afternoon 3 till 4 at the NSC and is always looking to boost numbers. And any girls under the age of 15 interested in playing can train on Saturday mornings 9 till 11 at the NSC. Elsewhere, and Isle of Man Volleyball also held a Smash Cancer tournament. Anyone interested in trying volleyball is welcome to join training sessions every Friday evening 8 till 9 at the NSC.
Manx Radio Travel, driven by Quayside Tyres and Service Centre.
Inbound at Ronald's Way, the 5:25 Logan out from Manchester won't be until 6 o'clock. The 7:30 EasyJet from Gatwick is currently showing on time. And then it's the 10 to 8 Logan Air from London City on time. The 5 to 8 Logan Air from Liverpool, the returning patient transfer delayed till 8:15. Outbound tonight, the next outbound is the 6 o'clock Logan Air to Liverpool, delayed till 6:30. Then it's the 8 o'clock EasyJet to Gatwick showing on time. On the roads, closure of a section of Bretney Close in Derby. They're doing some construction work till the middle of next month. The Newcastle Town Road still closed between Spring Valley roundabout the bottom of Richmond Hill. They're hoping, weather permitting, to be open for the middle of this week. Temporary lights at the junction of Queen's Road and Park Road, Port St Mary for gas main work. Queen Street in Castletown's closed for resurfacing work. Temporary lights on Peveril Road, Peel for resurfacing, and Hillside Avenue, Douglas closed to Circular Road for adjacent office window replacement. Temporary lights on Glencrutchery Road at the junction with the roundabout of Victoria Road for resurfacing in Douglas. And Old Laxey Hill is closed for excavation work.
H&H Motorcycles.im for all your motorcycle requirements. Southgate Industrial Estate, opposite Quayside Tyres. Call 665646.
And the matrix signs at Albert Road, Hilbury, Bagarrow and Sulby showing fog on the mountain road. A Douglas MHK wants to give Tynwald members the opportunity to debate a report and its key recommendations. The annual Health Services Consultative Report was released to the Department of Health and Social Care earlier this year. However, the Minister said it was full of errors. Chris Thomas MHK has a motion in for the report and its key recommendations to be presented to politicians.
I believe one purpose that I've achieved with laying this motion is that the committee will now hear why they're wrong, if they're wrong. I believe that lay people who spend a lot of time looking at issues working up in a constructive way to lay things on the table for consideration by Tynwald members as well as the department should have at least respect paid to them, that's what they've done, and that's why I put this motion on the table when the Health Ministers declined to lay it before Tynwald. There was quite a sort of public argument back in June around that time. I don't think the health members were looking for an argument. I just think they're looking for respect. I do think that they think that there's a valuable place for independent lay member scrutiny of the Department of Health and Social Care and Manx Care. But these are the sorts of issues. I don't want to preempt my colleagues. These are the sorts of issues that will be there on the day in the debate in November, Tynwald. Yeah, they make recommendations about financing, about the digital health record, about the speed of the legislative programme. I have personal concerns about the health services financing. I think Mrs Beecroft raised many issues back in 2016 when she was Health Minister that are still not addressed. I think we've gone backwards in terms of funding of residential and nursing care, but all those are not on the table in November as part of my personal views. What's on the table in November is to receive this report, to pay respect to this report and the committee that produced it, and then to debate for approval each of their 6 recommendations which they've made in their report.
Update brought to you by Simcox Advocates.
In the lead up to Hop Tunea, Douglas residents covered his home in spiders' webs and added a cemetery and talking ghosts. Jason Booth puts the spectacle outside his home in Campion Way, Governor's Hill, every year for members of the public to see. But this year, he's hoping to raise £1,000 to buy a projector for a care home that works with dementia care.
I've got a 10-foot spider that's put webs all over the front of the house. And I've got some smaller 2-foot spiders that are kind of helping along a little bit, sort of running around the cemetery at the minute. I've got a dragon that I keep in the garage, and I have actually got proof that ghosts do exist, but they only really come at night. I work in a dementia care and support unit for Manx Care. I do a lot of the activities there, and I'm responsible for seasonally decorating the environment. When I did the display last year, it was a little bit bigger, and quite a few people from up in Governors came round and said, well, you should do all this for charity. So I thought, right, I will do it for charity. So I had a word with my manager, and basically we've set up a Just Giving page, and I'm just asking for donations. Small, doesn't have to be big. It's based on the numbers that came last year. It took off, and everybody's been on at me saying, is it coming back this year? Well, it is. But this year I would love a donation for charity, and we can get some funds together for the unit to do activities. Although it's Just Giving, what we have is we have a charity fund within the unit, and anytime any activities come up, we just say if we need funds, it's just for things to do in daily living. A lot of things we take for granted. However, the unit where I work is a little bit different, and it's more led by the staff, and it's just nice when it happens. It's like, for instance, I run a cinema night, and I take my own projectors in, and we've got a big screen that I raise funds for, and we just line up any film you want, and it's a riot. It's absolutely brilliant, and to see the faces, it's fantastic.
That's it for Update Tonight, compiled from the resources of Manx Radio's news department. Thanks to newsreader Lewis Foster, producer Rhiann Evans. After the news at 6, Phil Gaun's on with Agenda.
WINT